Hey, Brandon here. Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Jason and I are back with another episode of the Devy Stock Report, the Week 3 Devy Stock Report, where we're going to talk about 6 Devy, no, I think we're going to talk about 10 Devy players today whose stocks is on the rise and the stock that might be on the fall. So we've got 2 weeks of fall ball that we were able to take a look at heading into Week 3 of college football. So we got a lot to talk about. Jason, welcome back. Let's talk about some of these players. Yeah. You excited to talk about these 10 players?
Oh, I'm so excited.
All right, so I'm going to start us off. I'm going to start us off with the riser, right? Okay. And I want to talk about JJ McCarthy. He is the quarterback of Michigan. Finally, he got his shot in this game against Hawaii this past weekend. Jim Harbaugh has come to his senses. It was very nice. They got a lead. They threw JJ McCarthy in there, and he did not disappoint. So if you're a Devy manager out there and you've had JJ McCarthy on your roster for a while, well, you're feeling pretty good about yourself because this time last year he didn't get the start, and he really didn't get to play a lot last year, but he came in this week, looked really good, 11 of 12, 229 yards, and threw 3 touchdowns. He had one really nice scramble for 16 yards. But I'll tell you, I did a cut up a film, again, put it on this YouTube channel. I kind of liked what I saw. You know, he's got good size. He's 6'3", just under 200 pounds. So he's got time to build a little bit more mass to his frame. But I thought he looked really good. I mean, I liked his mobility. I liked his athleticism. His ball placement, I thought, was really good. He was leading his receivers. Now, look, we know it was Hawaii. We know it was in the second half of a blowout, right? So we take that into consideration. But yet here, man, I'll tell you, we're going to talk about it, you know, on the podcast that we're going to record later, you know, just of the Devy landscape and of the quarterbacks and running backs. And I'll tell you right now, as far as the Devy landscape for quarterbacks, it's thin pickings out there, slim pickings rather. So, you know, JJ McCarthy is a stock up. You know, I think another thing that I noticed in this game was they used a little more RPO than in week 1. So I think he's going to add a little versatility that, you know, McNamara just couldn't provide. And I'm really glad that Harbaugh came to the conclusion. I think for Michigan, I think we've all just been waiting for this moment to get JJ McCarthy, high recruit. You know, let's see if Harbaugh can, you know, really, you know, elevate this Michigan team, because I think if he can really play well and he turns out to play really well throughout the season, I think Michigan, you know, is going to make it back to the Final Four of college playoffs. Jason, did you happen to take a look at any of his play this week?
Yeah, I saw the game and I saw the cut up that you made. And, you know, I was in charge of writing up JJ McCarthy for the Devy Watch last year. And I watched his high school film and I came away pretty impressed with what I saw from his high school film. And when I wrote him up, the one thing that I saw was he was lacking athleticism. But if you watched him last year, he showed that he can be a dual threat if needed. In this game, yeah, it's Hawaii. But at the same time, he did exactly what you would expect someone to do against an inferior team. And he showed that you nailed it. He can lead his receivers. He knows exactly how to put enough velocity on the ball, put enough touch on the ball to drop it in the breadbasket of his receiver on the run. I think he did everything to showcase that he deserves to be the starter. Now it's just up to Harbaugh to do the right thing and not screw around and just let McCarthy take it over from here.
Yeah, I think even if he has a rough game or two, you have to just let this man just learn by his mistakes. So I'm excited for Michigan. Yeah. I'm excited for their fans. I know they've been waiting for this for a long time because I think McNamara, as we know, was only going to get you to a certain level. This kid might actually be able to really get you to the final dance at the end of the college football season. So who's a riser you want to talk about?
Well, this is one that everybody's been excited about for a while. Finally rose to the occasion. I can't believe I said that I was concerned about Penn State running backs last week based on what we saw, but Nick Singleton overcame that. And man, he showcased himself in a huge way. Not only did he showcase himself, but he showcased his athleticism, his burst, his speed, his sideline ability. Man, when he gets to the perimeter, that dude is just gone. So not only does he have the size to drag players with him when he's running up the middle, he has the burst and acceleration to get to the perimeter, and then a second gear to get down the perimeter and beat out second and third level defenders for a touchdown. So liked everything I saw from Singleton. I think this is going to be a big year for him. And if Penn State's smart, they're just going to keep handing him the ball and let him showcase his ability from here on out.
Yeah, and if they're also smart a second time, they would play Aller and book Clifford on the
Right?
bench.
Just
So
put in the freshman, man. Put
yeah,
in your
just
big
yeah. I
five
mean,
stars.
sometimes you just need something new and fresh and
Yeah,
something exciting. Sometimes
right.
hope is better than just the average, right? So I'm going to talk about
Yes.
another player who I'm pretty excited about. In fact, I'm kind of working on my Devy ranks here now that we're through 2 weeks of college football, and I want to talk about Marvin Mims. I think he is one of the most undervalued wide receivers. I know, Jason, you and we watched a lot of film. We talked about him on our podcast a few months or a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, this kid just continues to produce, and I think he was really overshadowed last year, right? Because Mario Williams was the fancy, shiny new toy coming into Oklahoma. Of course, we know he's transferred over to USC and followed Lincoln Riley. So Mims is now the guy. And I mean, this past week, I know it was against Kent, but he had 7 receptions, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I cut up his film, I put it on this YouTube channel, but I think he's got everything. I mean, I like his size, 5'11", 184. He's at that size that I feel like most of all of the wide receivers going into the draft next year, with the exception of Johnson and Tillman, some guys that are a little taller, but all these guys are the same size. Boutte is about the same size, and Addison, and all these guys. And right now, I just have this feeling I had him ranked as my wide receiver overall, Devy wide receiver number 7 going into the into the season. And like I said, I'm working on my ranks right now, and I have a hard time not moving him up based on the production that I see. But I just love his twitchiness, and what I like about the most about Marvin Mims is his versatility. He can beat you all over the field, and his vertical again was displayed on this game this past week, where he had 2 long receptions and 1 for a touchdown. And he's 11th in passing, in receiving yards with 244, and 19th in all of college football with 24.4 yards per catch. But he's number 1 amongst all of the wide receivers headed to the 2023 NFL draft. So he's an explosive player. I think he's just been overshadowed by Mario Williams, and give me Marvin Mims over Mario Williams right now from what I've seen film to film. Right now, I think Marvin Mims is an undervalued player, and I don't think he's a very Devy player a lot of people get excited about, and I don't know why. I think he could be a sneaky riser as we head to the draft.
I completely agree with you, man. When we did our podcast not too long ago, and we had to do a deep dive film on Marvin Mims, I came away vastly impressed, just because one of the things I know you look for and I look for are players that just show play strength, grit, in that alpha mentality. And even though he is small on the smaller side, he plays bigger. He plays much longer. He has that dog in him, and I love that about this kid. So I think he's got the leadership ability. I think he's got it all. And yeah, he's definitely undervalued. That is going to change as the season progresses. He's going to be going up ranks. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I think he's a day 2 lock. Yeah, I think he's a day 2 lock next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if as we head into January, he's not up there, especially if JSN kind of keeps getting a little nicked up, and Boutte, and with everything. I think he has a chance of doing that. Who's your second riser?
Yeah, so my second guy, I feel like I'm going for low-hanging fruit, but it's not my fault. These guys just performed at a high level, so I'm going to talk about them. And my second guy is Marvin Harrison Jr. He had the opportunity in this game and just showcased himself to the best of his ability. It was funny. I think it was Dane Brugler or somebody else that posted a tweet saying that he would be wide receiver 1 if he was eligible to come out this year. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. It was one game, but at the same time, he maximized what he could with the opportunity that he had. 3 touchdowns in this game, 184 yards, seven receptions off 9 targets. I mean, he just knows how to find the soft spots in zone. He knows how to get himself opened. He knows how to navigate himself. His routes are very good release. I just feel like it's what we've always known. We just wanted to actually see it manifest, and that's exactly what happened. So here we go, and Ohio State's doing it again. they got first rounders galore on that roster. So
I agree. And you got to love his size too. You know, there's 6'3", I think he is. So he's going to play on the boundary, which is nice. He's not going to be one of these smaller guys stuck to the slot or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I put a film out on him, as you probably saw on this channel as well. Yep. So go check that out. Guy I want to talk about, I'm not sure what his NFL draft capital is going to be. He is a junior. Mr. Anthony Grant, he is a running back from Nebraska through 3 games. He's run 69 times for 428 yards, averaging 6.2 yards a carry, and has 5 touchdowns. He's got good size, 5'11", 200 pounds. I think he's a little bigger than that. I don't know. I think 200, watching him on film, might be a little light. But anyway, this kid runs big. I think he's big. He's physical. So he was he committed to Florida State, and then for some reason he transferred to New Mexico Military Institute, and led the nation in that school conference, and came back to Nebraska, and he's just been tearing it up. I mean, he's run for over 100 yards for 3 straight games at Nebraska, and we're going to talk about Nebraska on our podcast in a little bit as well, about Scott Frost is now out, so what are we going to do? I mean, I think this guy is going to get the ball a ton. So I think he's got lateral movement. I sent you that film, Jason.
You did, yeah.
And that was from, I think, 2 weeks ago. I like his lateral movement. I think he's got a little bit of stop and go. I think he's got some acceleration. He's not going to win, I think, long speed wise, but I felt he had enough burst and acceleration, and his contact balance and his ability to shed tackles and stuff. He's like my kind of running back, right? One of these bigger guys that are just, got the frame, low center of gravity, and because that's really what you need to really be successful long-term in the NFL. Yeah. Like I said, so he's going to be a great C2C waiver ad probably this week if he is out on one of those campus to Canton waivers. And if you're in a shallow Devy league, he's definitely out there if you've got waivers in a league like that. So like I said, we've got a lot more to see before we can ever talk about an NFL kind of landing spot or day 3 guy. But he's a riser right now. He's a hot name, and he continues to produce. Everyone knows he's getting the ball, and he continues to just showcase his skills. So I'm excited to continue to watch, Anthony Grant from Nebraska.
Yeah, when you sent me that video and I watched it, I think the first thing I said to you is that Weaver was the first thing. I'm like, man, this kid just knows how to weave. He knows how to navigate. He's got that lateral fluid agility, but it's so subtle. Like, he just knows exactly where to go just to get into the second level and break into open field. So I think that's a great call from him, especially the fact that he's been producing in such a bad circumstance. I'm wondering how well he's going to do now if he gets put in a better situation. So we'll see. So my third guy, I'm going to come off the tree of the low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to go with the guy who deserves some recognition. We weren't even sure if he was going to play this season, and that's Sam Hartman. Just comes out, and again, it's not against the best competition against Vanderbilt. We know that, that defense is pretty awry, but Sam Hartman puts up 4 touchdowns and just acted like he didn't skip a beat. And last season he looked great as well. He's overcome a lot of adversity throughout his entire career. Had some instances as a younger kid where he had to overcome adversity, had a very close death in the family to someone who was like a brother to him that really played a huge part in his that the mental state that he's been in. I think that Wisconsin game a year or 2 back where he threw multiple interceptions kind of showcased that. Needed to take some time away, came back, and he's proving himself. So at least give him the recognition that's deserved. But I think this is a good start to possibly the development where we could see some sort of NFL caliber development from him this season. So Sam Hartman's my guy.
Nice. I can't say I've watched a lot of Sam Hartman over the years. So, I mean, do you think he's got NFL dynasty
definitely
implications?
I think he's got backup possibilities with the possibility to be a starter. But yeah, I just think a nice foundation for him for sure. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we always like to talk. We always like to talk about the positive guys, but we also have to talk about the fallers a little bit, right? So,
let's do it.
My stock down guy is a guy. This is going to break my heart, but after watching 2 games and specifically his game against Arkansas, MARSHAWN LLOYD is a stock down player for me. And after watching the Arkansas game and the Georgia State game, he's averaging 2.9 yards a carry, running the ball. Now his stock is inflated right now because he is catching the ball. He had 6 receptions for 72 yards this past weekend. But I watched this game in detail because I wanted to watch Rocket Sanders and I wanted to kind of get a little glimpse of Spencer Rattler as well. And MARSHAWN LLOYD running in between the tackles is just unimpressive. He had a fumble in this game this week. He had 2 drops out of the backfield. He just, he was a freshman I was really, really excited about. I got probably shares of him in almost every C2C league. He blows his ACL at his freshman year. And the fact that last year he didn't come back may have been a warning sign that he really wasn't overcoming his knee injury. So here he is, his junior year, that we're like really looking for him to, make a splash and do something. And I just don't see it happening at all. I just don't like what I see in between the tackles. He's very hesitant. And I'm not seeing the explosiveness, and that whole offense I don't think is going to do him any favors. Spencer Rattler as well. I think they're just loading the box a little bit. Spencer Rattler isn't playing great, very inaccurate in the field, but that's a story for another day. But MARSHAWN LLOYD is a stock down player. So here's my situation. If you've got him like I do, and he has a great game here or there, I think it'd be a great opportunity to sell for maybe someone in one of your leagues that is in tune to it's a hot name, and he's been putting up fantasy points in college football and in C2C leagues because of he's had a couple touchdowns. I would be looking to move away from MARSHAWN LLOYD. I see really no path to an NFL and him hitting any dynasty roster unless he just makes a miraculous change.
That one hurts, man. That one hurts so much because coming out, didn't he checked?
It was so good.
Like, what I mean? So good.
So good.
You watched it probably more than I did. Do you think it's a health issue, or is this who he is now?
I just think it's who he is. I just, in that game, there just wasn't one explosive play, right? He had his longest run was for 7 yards. And then Georgia State, I think it was like 10 yards or something like that. I'm just not seeing any wow moments running the football. Look, it's week 2. I get it. Right. Arkansas they have a good defense, but I was looking and hoping for more, and it just wasn't there.
All right. That hurts.
Yeah. It's me too, bud.
Well, this next one hurts me a lot because it affected everything for a Notre Dame fan that's in me. But my guy is Tyler Buchner. I just don't see it. And it's pretty evident if you watch Notre Dame versus Marshall that I don't really have to explain it to you. His reads were horrible. He looked lost. He didn't know how to make accurate throws. I'm not sure if it was the play calling, but he just doesn't look confident. And, they put Drew Pine in there and he threw an interception and didn't look good either. So who knows? But from what I saw from last season to up to this point, I just don't think Tyler Buchner is ever going to be the fantasy guy that you want to hold on a Devy roster for a long period of time that is going to translate, get draft capital, and do something for you in the NFL. I just personally don't see it. I'm completely out. The one good major thing that came from that Notre Dame game is Michael Mayer, and I think that's really all you can bank your hat on.
Yeah, I think he got hurt. He's out for the year too, isn't he?
Tyler Why do you got to do that? Oh, Buchner? I don't know. I thought you were talking about Mayer. I was like, don't joke around with that.
No. I'm sorry. Okay. No one mean to scare you like
what?
That. Yeah, I think Buchner, he has a sprain in his shoulder or something, or an AC joint or something. Okay. Yeah, I think
I wasn't sure if he's out for the year. I know the injury. I'm just not sure about the length.
I think it might be. If not, it's pretty much a long part of the season. So all right, I'm going to talk about my second stock. Yeah, that doesn't help either. Yeah, for his development and growth, right? My second stock down player, JERMAINE BURTON from Alabama. Okay, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Okay, here we are going into his junior year. All right, and he hasn't gotten over 500 yards his freshman or sophomore season receiving. Now, he was at Georgia, as we all know, and the excuse has always been, well, Georgia always is a running first team, which, is true. But so we were thinking he was going to come to Alabama and maybe be that Jameson Williams replacement, the explosive player who was going to really come in and just capture that wide receiver room, be the number one guy. And it just isn't turning out. So stock down right now. I feel like there's so little film on JERMAINE BURTON to really get a grasp on what his NFL future is for me. I'll be honest with you. So usually you have a lot more plays of players that you can really kind of sink your teeth into and watch as a player. But I mean, right now in Alabama, these 2 games, I went back and watched. I mean, there's not much to take away from 2 catches for 10 yards. Alabama kind of struggled against Texas this past week. So the whole team was, they're still trying to find their way. But there's just this lack of production is just concerning for me. And I look at like a guy like Marvin Mims, who we just spoke about, who's tearing it up and explosive plays down the field, and I just think he's going to leapfrog Burton come draft time. And I mean, his average depth of target in 2022 is 5.7 yards, right? So I mean, he's getting a lot of screen passes, but I don't see any vertical explosion. And I think Alabama as a whole is missing that. But until Tyler, Harrell comes back, Harrell, I think you say his name is. Harrell. So he's a great buy. Yeah, Harrell, is that how you say? Yeah, he's a great buy opportunity right now. So, but I'm just kind of out on Burton right now. I mean, unless he does something, magical through the rest of the season. But I think Saban's going to rotate these wide receivers, and they've got so much talent on that team. I'm not sure his talent is high enough where he's going to just break away from, like Jamison Williamson did, just break away from the pack with just explosion and just monster plays. I just don't see it. He's never been that kind of player, and I think we maybe put too much expectation him going to Bama that's what he was, and I have this feeling that maybe he just isn't.
Yeah, you know what? When we talked about him a little while ago, it was really hard to find film, like you said. Like, I had to go to a full game, go to ESPN, look at the play-by-play just to watch him. I do think there's talent there, but I'll tell you what, in a game like this, a close game where Bryce Young needed every bit of help that he could get, not to have a guy show up, that's a huge problem. And that's game film that NFL coaches are going to be watching. So I'm not really too sure. I want all 22 of this game so badly, but I'm not really too sure what took place, why Burton's kind of faltering, but this is not a good look, and he needs to be doing much better, especially for his QB that was looking for every opportunity to get the ball out and find a pass catcher that was going to be reliable. So yeah, Burton, I'm down on him too, man. I hate to say it. It is what it is. My last guy is another receiver that we talk about, and I honestly think that everything that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks with this stock up, stock down is showcasing that this wide receiving core of the top 5, top 10 is going to shake up quite a bit. And Quentin Johnson, with his 9 targets, he's got 44 yards on the season so far. I don't think TCU understands how to find an identity at this point. But again, a guy needs to show up and be there for his quarterback, and that hasn't been Johnston. And there's other guys that are stepping up, developing, Cedric Tillmans of the world, that are just looking better and looking like they're more reliable. We need to see more from a guy like this. And so for right now, I think we just need to kind of steady our ranks when it comes to Quentin Johnson, maybe give him a little bit more time, but this is not a good look for him.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm on record with on my dashboard crew, as well as on Twitter, that I've done 2 film studies on him on this YouTube channel, his freshman year and his sophomore year. And he's just somebody that I've never came away super impressed. That Oklahoma game last year, he had 3 touchdowns, all the great body control.
It was a great game.
It was a great game. And I feel like he's a perfect example of the Twitter echo chamber of everyone has him in the top 3 or 4, and he's not near that for me at all. He's barely in my top 10 overall wide receivers. I mean, like I've said it many times, give me Cedric Tillman all day, every day over Johnston, but I like the call. I just don't see it. And like you said, where is the production? Where is the, I'm here, give me the ball. I'm one of the alpha wide receivers of the draft, and he should be showcasing his skills a little bit more. So, well, there you go, man. There it is. There are 10 Devy stock up, stock down players. I hope you enjoyed the show. And, in the comments below, tell us what other shows you're looking for. I want to expand the content on this YouTube channel, and looking forward to, developing stuff as the fall comes. And of course, I'll be getting back into all the rookie breakdowns and stuff as we head to the draft. So thanks again, Jason. Always a good time. And until next week, everybody, you know what? We'll see you next week. Later.